Bill Murphy was 24 years old when his landing craft reached Omaha Beach. He was with the 29th Infantry Division and was part of the first wave assigned to hit Dog Green sector. The boats were coming in under heavy machine gun and artillery fire. German positions were already engaging the waterline before the ramps dropped. When that ramp went down, some of the men in front of him were hit immediately as heavy gunfire ripped through the opening. He remembers moving forward past them, expecting to be hit at any second. His personal account of that day was recorded in 1981 as part of a World War II oral history project. Murphy stepped off the landing craft into the water. It was deeper than he expected. Men in full gear were already struggling to stay afloat. Many of the men would panic in the water, some losing their rifles, and others would cut their packs off. He saw many just go under. The ocean current was pulling at them as they tried to move toward shore. He remembers bodies floating in the water, as many men were already down before they made it to the sand. At Omaha Beach, the first waves took heavy casualties within minutes of landing, and Murphy and others just had to move past them. There was no time to stop. He described rounds hitting all around him, walking across the surface of the water toward the shoreline. The men were fully exposed as German positions overlooked the entire beach. From the bluffs above, machine gunners had clear lines of fire across the landing zones. When Murphy reached the sand, there was no formation left. Units had broken apart in the surf. Men from different companies were all mixed together, and many officers had been hit early. At Dog Green sector, some of the lead companies were almost entirely wiped out within the first minutes of landing, and Murphy no longer recognized anyone around him. Gunfire continued without pause, and mortars and artillery were landing across the beach. The impact zones were shifting constantly, and the men were caught in the open between the water and the bluffs. On that stretch of sand, men were using casualties as cover. The Germans had placed some obstacles on the beach to hinder landing craft and vehicles, and were used for what little cover they offered. But some guys stayed there too long. Murphy kept moving forward towards the bluffs. He moved past men who had been hit. Some were still alive, and some weren't. There was just no way to stop. The distance inland wasn't very far, but being completely exposed under fire made it seem like miles. His gut instinct told him to just keep moving forward toward the base of that wall. That was the only ground that offered any protection. Murphy finally reached it with some of the others who had made it across the open sand, and they pressed in tight against the embankment. Some of the men were wounded, bleeding, and dying. He helped pull some of them closer, keeping them out of the line of fire as medics tried to patch them up. There were no organized aid stations at that point. Medics were scattered, and some had been hit. So whoever could help did what they could in the chaos and confusion. The bandages were being used quickly and were running out. The fire from the Germans above didn't stop, and some wounded had to be left at the wall. With no clear units or structured command, men began banding together with others who managed to make it that far. And by mid-morning, movement started again. Small groups began pushing forward. The situation on Omaha Beach had been close to failure in the early hours, but scattered groups began to find gaps in the German defenses. Some moved along the base of the bluffs, while others worked their way up the draws and slopes, and these small American squads, acting on their own, began taking the German positions one at a time. Murphy was moving with whoever was near him, and the fight slowly shifted away from the open beach. But the cost had already been set. At Omaha, thousands of American soldiers were killed or wounded during the landings, and at Dog Green alone, much of the first wave had been lost in minutes. Losses on Omaha Beach were among the heaviest of the entire Normandy invasion. On June 6, 1944, American forces suffered an estimated 2,000 to 3,000 casualties there, including those killed, wounded, and missing. The exact number of dead is harder to pin down, but is generally believed to be in the range of 1,000 or more killed, with many others wounded by machine gun fire, artillery, and obstacles in the surf. Some men were listed as missing after being lost in the water or buried in the chaos of the beach under fire. Murphy would later describe what stayed with him through the years: the ramp, the red water, and moving past those bodies. He remembers being focused on reaching that wall and a blur of confusion around him. He said that when that ramp dropped open, that began the hardest day of his life. Bill Murphy passed away in 1998. He was one of the men who made it off that beach, and one of the few who could still describe how it began.